Well, it's another day and another walk through the bus paddock, but today is extremely different because this is the Paris-Roubaix, the Cobbled stage at the Tour de France, Stage 5 2022 race. And over here, you see these guys walking in the orange shirts. It says Ineos on their shirts. They're in fact going to be the team helpers. They're going to be on each sector with extra wheels, extra bottles. And right up front, you see Servais Knaven walking in the blue shirt next to those guys in the orange shirts. He's a former winner of Paris-Roubaix, won in that muddy edition. So Brent, we spoke with Servais just a minute ago, and he confirmed these guys are going to be helping out the team. Geraint Thomas, we got Danny Martinez. We also have, of course, Adam Yates on the team. Those guys are going to need to be serviced out there if they have any sort of mechanical.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just special bikes, special equipment that's on display today. It's a special support strategy, and we see this all the time in the Northern Classics like Paris-Roubaix, the Tour of Flanders. These teams will already have a group of, they're not staff that are part of the team, but they're basically friends of the team, and it's a consistent group. They're known quantity, they know how to hand up bottles, they know how to have the wheels, they know where to stand. And in this day and age, a lot of times they're even COVID tested, they're approved, they're not in the team bubble, but the closest thing without being in there. And as you can see, they even got their special shirts. They're going to be on display today out in those cobbled sectors.
Now, there are 11 cobbled sectors today, and I don't think they'll have guys for each sector, but what they'll do is they'll hop from sector to sector. So one group will do, say, sector 11, and then skip ahead to sector 8, I can imagine. So they'll cross from sector to sector like that. Very important to have those guys out in the cobbles.
Yeah, and it's not so simple even just chasing those sectors, navigating from one to the other. We're talking about local and regional experts. These guys will have studied the map. They'll know all the little farm lanes. To us, we look at this road and think there's no way that's going to go through, and they're going to say, "Oh yeah, I talked to Grandpa so-and-so 5 years ago. I know I can cut through his backyard," and they'll sneak to that next sector.
So you can imagine right there, you see Servais Knaven with his back to us, that he's giving him the specific details of what the team will need in order to get this day to go off without a hitch. They're not going to be looking to win the stage with Pitcock or Ghana. I can imagine they're just going to be looking to get through, protecting their 3 GC leaders.
Yeah, we have many of the people that help us in the spring, and with some extra people we can cover all the sections today, and help the riders if they need a wheel and give a bottle.
Brent, look at here. It's the bike, Total Energy bike of Peter Sagan. Of course, he's really good over the cobbles.
Yeah, and we're seeing this isn't even his race bike. This is his, believe his second spare bike. And we just saw an exhaustive tire pressure check of the second spare bike. So it's not just the race bikes that are getting obsessed over. It's the second spare bike. He's got the same tubeless tire set up, the exact same tire pressure. And this is really important because if a mishap does happen, which, as we keep talking about, it's quite likely that something's going to go wrong. You may have to grab your second spare bike. The last thing you want is to get on your spare bike with different wheels, different tires, different pressure. So it's a lot of confidence and a lot of thought being used to make sure that everything's handled.
And we talked to the team. They estimate around 5 bar tire pressure in there. Don't ask us to do. You know that in PSI real quick? And and the tires, they're running tubeless tires, as to Jumbo-Visma is doing that today. And you'll notice the mechanics already put it in the proper gearing that they'll need it in case the mechanics have to grab the bike off the roof of the car, a big chain ring up front, and almost the easiest cog in the back. And that is like a straight block in the back. And you'll see the big ring and then the small rings hidden behind the big ring because that's a big small ring. What are we looking at, Brent?
Yeah, this is also a unique piece of cobble tech. So we got like the old school corn cob cassette going on. These days, oftentimes you see like a 30-tooth cassette as like the standard sprocket that they'll use on every day. They are not going to need that today because they're very rarely going to be even out of the big ring. So what that allows them to have is no gaps in the shifting. Super clean. They shift one gear, they change one tooth, and that can mean the difference between staying on the wheel or losing it. Same thing up front. It's look like we got a 5339. Although that little ring is not a 39, it's definitely bigger. And as we said, that profile today is mostly flat. There is some undulation, but no granny gear needed today.
And Peter Sagan is definitely one of those guys we talked about yesterday in the show that he'll be gunning for victory. They don't have to think too much about the GC today, so Peter Sagan will go for it. So Brent, look at this. The French police, the gendarmes, some of those guys I'd say half of them that we saw come through here on special motorbikes today. So even those guys are getting just ready to go over those cobbles. And you were explaining the other day when we were in the car on one of those long drives that we do all the time, that all the cars going over the cobbles have to have special protector pans underneath, right?
Yeah, definitely in Paris-Roubaix, and I'm guessing it's the same today. There's skid plates installed in all the cars. They have to be approved to go over those cobbled surfaces. You know, it's not just bumpy stones they're riding over. These things are uneven. They're crowned in the center. It's not on-road smooth surface, and these cars got to be ready too, so they don't scrape the bottom and, you know, splash a bunch of oil all over the course.
Yeah, Brent, I don't know if you've ever driven over those cobbles. One time I had my Volkswagen Golf driving over some of those cobbles doing some preview for Paris-Roubaix, and it'll tear up your car if you're not ready.
The cobbles, I bet you the cobbles will be the easy part.
For you, maybe.
Super twisty and narrow roads all the way from the start.
They got the knobby tires. It's just like what you see a motocross bike. Down here, they got a protector for their radio equipment. These guys are going to have a bumpy ride out there as they're doing the live commentary, the blow-by-blow for France Douai. Well, Brent, that is a lot of craziness. Every team is busy with their bikes. The mechanics working frantically for this stage.
Yeah, it's a lot of focus, a lot of anticipation, and you actually hear it in the riders' voices. There's some excitement, but there's also an element of like, let's just get this day over with and move on to the rest of the tour.
Definitely. I think everybody wants to get through this stage safely except for like your Van der Poels and your Peter Sagan. We're going to get out there, we're going to go see the sectors and then race to the finish. So it's a busy day for everybody here at the Tour de France.